afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Communication, Media, and the Arts panel here today. My name is Gary Morse. I'm the Director of Career Services here at SUNY Oswego. As you can guess, this industry has been particularly impacted by the pandemic. So we needed to bring in three extremely accomplished and heavy-hitting alumni to provide their perspective on what it's like to work in this industry today. So maybe a couple housekeeping items to begin with. To make things somewhat manageable, if you can, and I think everybody is at this point, keeping your microphone on mute. We also encourage everyone to ask questions via chat. Chelsea and I will closely monitor that chat box just to make sure that your questions get to Lena, Evans, and Mary. And as you probably just heard, but just in case, we'll be recording this session and making it available for anybody who wasn't able to make this particular session. So without delay, it is an honor to introduce our amazing alums. And I'll start with Evans Manuel. So okay. Evans, I've got this all written up for you, Evans. Yep. So Evans graduated from SUNY Oswego in 2010 with a bachelor's in broadcasting and mass communications. While at Oswego, he was involved with the creation of the student organization 2.5 and served as vice president for the organization from 2007 to 2009. Evans was also a member of Phi Beta Sigma, where he served as chapter president from 2008 to 2009 and participated in many community service endeavors while involved with the organization. In addition to this, Evans was also active in many of the ALANA organizations and was a camera operator for WTOP's Monday Night News program. After graduation, Evans interned at Skytown Entertainment before going on to land a job at the Greenpoint YMCA in Brooklyn as system program coordinator and videographer, and eventually a case manager with the organization. Evans went on to start his career with the Fox News Channel in 2013, serving as a teleprompter operator before his current position as cameraman, Fox Skype test team member, and graphics operator. So welcome, Evans.
Hello, thank you. It's a wonderful, intro. It's a lot of words, but it just, just jobs.
And it doesn't stop there. So we have Lena Polowitz. She graduated magna cum laude from SUNY Oswego in 2014 with a bachelor's in public relations and business. During her time at Oswego, Lena was very involved, serving as the chief communications officer for the Business Management Club, the head of public relations for the Junior Senior Women's Honor Society, and was a member of the Public Relations Society of America, Phi Kappa Phi Honor Society, Women in Business Club, in addition to working as a teaching assistant and interning for both the Human Resources and Communications and Marketing offices at SUNY Oswego. She also worked with the Syracuse University Athletic Communications Department. So Lena now serves as Senior Marketing and Customer Retention Specialist at Mackenzie Childs, where she is responsible for day-to-day budgeting, planning and execution of key marketing and customer retention related programs with a focus on email marketing, mobile message marketing, and partnering with the Chief Marketing Officer in support of the strategic planning and development of the growth of revenue, customer acquisition, and customer retention. So, wow, welcome, Lena.
I did want to make 2018 I graduated.
2018?
Yes, so I'm only 2.5 years out of college.
Got it, all right.
But thank you for having me. Good introduction.
All right. And then we have Mary Yeager Sansone, class of 13, I believe?
You are correct.
All right. Born and raised in Western New York, but now a Bostonian, Mary graduated from SUNY Oswego in 2013 with a bachelor's degree in public relations and business administration before going on to earn her master's in integrated marketing communications from Emerson College. During her time at Oswego, Mary was president of PRSSA, co-president of Lambda Phi Eta, chair of open house and publicity for the Department of Communication students, as well as for the Department of Communication Studies Student Leadership Advisory Board, member of ODK Honor Society, the Del Sart Dance Club, a representative for the advisory board for the Student Arts Fee, as well as for the Village Voice, and a student intern for the Career Services Office. Mary has experience working for large nonprofits, higher education, and healthcare institutions. She leads communication strategies and shares missions through storytelling, marketing initiatives, and content strategy. Mary is the current Associate Director of Engagement Marketing for Harvard University, where she oversees the development and implementation of major data-driven communication and marketing campaigns with the goal of driving alumni engagement among a global audience of more than 350,000. Welcome, Mary. So that was
Glad to be here.
pretty amazing. I don't know about everybody else on this call, but I always feel like I'm the little kid at the big kids table when I make these introductions. So it's always so amazing what you folks have done. So thank you so much for your time. We're very grateful for this. A quick reminder in the chat, please drop your questions in there and Chelsea and I will be monitoring that. But to get us started, I'll ask the first question. So as I just went through, you've all had amazing, incredible careers that are continuing to evolve to this day. The question to start with is, what have you enjoyed most about your careers? And what has been the most challenging aspects of your career path so far? Perhaps we'll start with Mary and then Evans, and then we'll go to Lena.
Sure. That's a really great question. I think what I've enjoyed the most is just the personal growth opportunities that I have received. Boston is a unique city in that it's very small in terms of when you think about different industries. So I started my career in nonprofits, and I've worked in the healthcare sector and in higher education. And the amount of people who know each other in your world is really remarkable. And the connections that you're able to create because of that has been really nice to see, and has provided me more opportunities to network with folks and grow and find my way to Harvard, which I will forever be grateful for. So I think that has been one of the most rewarding parts of a career, and something that I was surprised by as well. I didn't realize in a city like Boston how small it really can be. And I think some of the challenges that I have faced really have started in this pandemic. I think being in a higher education world, everything feels, they're so traditional, right? So Harvard was a place that they never thought, working remotely was possible, having events remotely was possible, making connections with alumni. And so it's been a really big challenge, but also very rewarding to kind of find our path through that, and recognizing that a virtual world is actually super accessible. I actually started my position with Harvard remotely in April. So they had already transitioned to remote. So I offboarded from my previous job remotely, onboarded to this job remotely, and something that I never thought I would do, but kind of working through those challenges has been really great growth opportunity for me.
Nice. Yeah, Evans.
Yes. So for me, I would like to say that the portion of my career that I would say is the best part right now is just the interacting with many, many different types of people from many different walks of life. I will say that this job has afforded me that opportunity more so than any other job that I've had previously. So for that, I'm forever grateful. It also has awarded me the chance to kind of find myself. I will say that about where I currently work, Fox News, they do allow you to kind of figure your way out. I started off, like you mentioned earlier, as a teleprompter operator, but within 6 months of me being here, I was already itching to learn something new. So I will say that that's the best part of my career in working here, is that if you want to learn something, they're more than willing to nurture you. They're more than willing to give you the opportunity. And there's a plethora of people willing to teach you. So I will say that that's the greatest thing about my career at this moment. Aside from that, some of the challenges that I faced, especially in the pandemic, it was just working again. Now, this can be a catch-22. Working with different people can be great, but it also can be a sort of a challenge, especially in these times when certain people may not agree with wearing masks or may not want to sanitize certain things. And knowing that we have this shared space where we have to work in studio, in the control room, that can kind of be a little difficult to work around, but you also do get through it. But aside from that, I would also say that going kind of the technology route and being online with everything, it also has helped in terms of being more direct with communication, because a lot of things can get lost. So I feel like more people have become a little more direct, and it helps us get the message across a little faster. So that's kind of been a challenge, but it also has helped me also. So yeah.
Nice, thank you.
So for myself, I think, I'm only 2 years out of college, so it's been really interesting just to see my schooling be put to real experience. Just taking a look at how much I've learned, and the skills that I've learned in school and I'm now using in the workplace. That's been really interesting to see, and just the amount that I've grown, the amount that I've learned that I would have never learned in school or in my internships. Also, just I think working hard and being rewarded for that. When you're a student, you're being rewarded with good grades. So I think the feeling of having my first promotion, it's a feeling you'll never forget. It's, all the hard work that you did in college, it finally has paid off. So yeah, that's definitely the most rewarding so far.
Nice, nice. So Mary, you might be the exception because you sort of started remote. But I know, this life after graduation component is a bit of a mystery sometimes, because if you've not graduated, you don't really know what's on the other side. Could you kind of walk us through the three of you, what happens every day on the job in your current position? What do you do when you either get to work or start work? What really happens here? Anyone can jump in.
I can kick us off. For me, of course, as I mentioned, I have been fully remote. But from that aspect, my job isn't very much different because of being remote. I think the one difference would be in-person events and being able to meet our volunteers and alumni. But a typical day for me consists of a lot of meetings. It's a lot of back-to-back meetings, and kind of in between those meetings trying to do a lot of writing. When I was a student, I remember one of my professors saying, career in communications, you're going to spend a lot of your day writing. And I definitely underestimated her of how much writing I actually do in a day. So if I'm not in a meeting, I'm probably writing. It's those two things are very fulfilling for me, which is really great. But prepare yourself to write if you're going into marketing or PR.
Yep. And is this I start at 8 and I end at 5, or I start at 6 and I end at 10, or what's that frame like?
Yeah, so Harvard has been really, really good about work-life balance. So this is actually my first job out of college that I have worked a pretty steady 9-to-5 job, with exceptions. Sometimes we have, because we have a global audience of alums, sometimes we have to do early calls or late night calls to accommodate those schedules. But for the most part, a typical week is pretty 9-to-5 for us, which I appreciate, because my last two previous positions, it was more like a 7-to-7. And that's not a very easy life to have.
Yep. Great, thank you.
For me, a normal workday when I first got out of college would have been like a 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. while I was working at the Y. Some days that would change, maybe from like an 11 to 7, depending on when I would have students and when I would have to record stuff or take pictures for promotional purposes. So that would kind of fluctuate within those hours. Working where I work now, it can vary from a 5 a.m. to 1 p.m. or 4 to 12. Right now I'm at a 10 to 6, which is not bad. But in terms of my actual work day, today I started off doing Skype. So I started off at home, I'm doing Skype, I'm checking guests in, and I get an hour lunch. So I kind of did that. And then I took some time to get to work, to physical work where I'm at now. And then after this at 2 p.m., I have pre-pro for show, and then we go on air, and then I have election rehearsal. So it's like, it's not really, it's kind of like school to me, because it's really like just blocked off. Okay, you go from one location to one location, you do this for this portion of this show, and you do this for that portion of this show. So it's very structured. So I'm kind of used to it by now, but that's kind of pretty much what my workday consists of. I mean, there can be changes and wrenches thrown in there if there's breaking news and they need us to stay longer, or if they need me to move from the studio to the control room to do something, or somebody calls out sick and then I have to fill in another position. So that's kind of what most of the people that work here, like most of our days consist of that. Like you will start off with a structured schedule, and there may be some changes that, come about. But usually if you have a set time and there aren't any call outs, you're guaranteed to leave at whatever time your schedule is set for.
Nice. Yeah, thank you.
So for me, since COVID, I have found myself working 7 to 7, really finding ways to just be creative. I can't just have what I want planned. It usually doesn't happen that way. Constantly we have to be brainstorming, coming up with new ideas because, I'm in retail, and right now brands are more competitive than ever. And it's just, especially with COVID, it's been a transition. It's new for everyone. So really finding new ways to engage the customer, to drive sales. That's definitely been a transition. And like Mary mentioned, a lot of meetings. And when we were in the office, it was nice because it was face-to-face. But now I'm behind a computer for majority of my day. So, I'm hoping that eventually things will go back to normal, but I think for quite some time it's going to be this way. So.
Yep, I think there's a lot of that going on. Everybody's sitting behind a monitor trying to stay engaged, for sure. Well, let me spin back a little bit, just for fun. Favorite SUNY Oswego memory from your days of college that you'd care to share with all of us?
I'll go ahead. Well, first of all, I hope that you guys all can have the same experience that we did before we graduated. Obviously, we don't know what it's going to look like next month. But really one of my favorite memories, and you're going to think I'm crazy, but just the hours that we spent in the library during midterms and finals, you'll never do that again in your life. And we used to get conference rooms and order pizza, and we'd make fun of it, and we were in it together. So that was one of my favorite memories, just because you never do that again once you're not a student. So yeah.
I would say my favorite memory is more like a combination of a few things. It would be the proximity that you have to your friends, that you kind of become a family. And that's something that I know you guys may not be able to experience fully at this point, but hopefully at one point within your 4 or 5 years at Oswego, you do get to experience that. It's something that I cherish till this day. I still keep in touch with most of my Oswego friends. So I would definitely say that, growing up a community and turning into a family. I would also say, ironically, the snowstorms are some of my favorite memories. It's something that I feel like us Oswegonians can kind of brag about at to an extent. And we kind of all understand when we say, oh, Oswego winters are definitely different than any other place. So I would say the winters, and I would probably say the summer times in Oswego. If you were able to ever spend the summer in Oswego, or just a few days from the summertime in Oswego, it's beautiful weather, and it's just beautiful to be around. So those are the 3 things that I would say are my, I guess, best memories.
Yeah, I definitely echo both of those. I can't ever pinpoint just one thing, because I did have such a fantastic experience at Oswego, and I probably talk about Oswego daily like constantly. And most of my closest friends were met at Oswego. So I think some of the things I'm most fond of are those memories that I had with my friends, everything that I learned in, you know, working with Gary, and I also worked at the fitness centers. I had just really great groups of people all throughout campus that were very supportive and helped me learn and grow and enjoy my time at Oswego, that everything to me was so much fun. And I have to say, the snow memories, like as terrible as those snowstorms are, anytime it snows in Boston and people freak out, I'm like, oh, I'm Oswego trained. Like, this is nothing. But it always brought, like, you just got like, I just remember my housemates and I would just like get together and like, yeah, order pizza or make food and just like sit around in our pajamas and watch movies when it was snowing. And you don't get a lot of time to do that now without being surrounded by your best friends every day. So I certainly miss a lot about Oswego, and I really can't pinpoint just one thing, because I think my whole experience there was my favorite.
Nice.
There was a quick question in the chat for Evans. Have you met Tucker Carlson?
Yes, I have met him. I've worked on his show before when he comes to New York sometimes. Was there something specific that the person wanted to know, or just have I met him?
Just if you, what's he like?
Contrary to what you see on air for a lot of anchors, most of them are very friendly, most of them are very open, most of them are very down to earth. And sometimes you just, when you're on television, it seems, from my perspective, that you play to a certain audience and you have, you know, certain messages that you want to get across. But aside from that, you're still a person. Like, we are at work or we have jobs, but outside of work, we're still people. So that's something I feel like people may forget, because you just see that one side of that person on TV. But off air, my experience with him has been nothing but, you know, great. So, yeah.
So I'm trying to think of how to frame this, but with this pause or a different way of operating right now, a lot of our students are experiencing difficulty in getting experience. Internships are not as easy to obtain these days. Building skills, therefore, is a little bit harder. But all of our students don't want to slow down. They still want to elevate their brand, build their skills, become more valuable to that internship supervisor, that next employer when they graduate. What advice do you have for our students? What should they be doing now, given our reality, to continue to become more valuable, so when things open up, they're much higher on the launch pad? That's not an easy question. So
My advice would just be to stay abreast of any and all information regarding your career of choice. Try to stay on top of that. Try to just, because again, like you said, we're all at home. Well, some of us are at home. Some of us, you know, can't get that experience. But just at least by knowing what's going on within your career path or choice of choice, I feel like it'll definitely put you ahead of the game. Learn as much as you can from home. I know it may not be the same as experience, but there are people that may have had those experiences that you are looking to have. So if there's any way to find and connect with those people, possibly through LinkedIn or possibly through the alumni office, you never know, like, this is happening now because, you know, we're alumni of Oswego, and you never know who is an alumni or who you can find that may be able to kind of give you just a small inkling of what, you know, you may want to learn that may help you later on in your career path. So I would definitely say just keep abreast of all information that you can related to your career path, and just try your best to find someone that may have gone through those experiences that you may need in order to get to your career path. So.
Yeah, to kind of add on to that, I would say just be creative and be open-minded to what is available to you, whether it's doing research and reaching out to alumni. I know that, you know, through career services in the alumni department, there are a lot of programs that you can be connecting with folks, and take advantage of those. Take advantage of the virtual opportunities that are being offered in any way that you can make connections right now. And you can also think about even volunteering your time or reaching out to organizations to see if they have even just like short-term projects that they need help with. It might not be a full blown internship because things are different, but they might have a project that they could use some help with and hire folks on for. You never know, and it doesn't ever hurt to reach out. So I think being open-minded and creative at this time will continue to kind of put you on a path forward where you're continuing to grow your skills and grow your resume, and putting yourself forward for time after graduation.
Right, and I agree with both of those statements. I think really right now, just reaching out to alumni, not even for experience, but just, ask for their advice, maybe set up some sort of plan when things do go back to normal, keep me in mind. And like you said, Mary, volunteering. There's a lot of opportunities right now to volunteer. So if you can't find an internship, then getting volunteering experience is probably the best thing you can do right now. So yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like you're saying what I'm hearing from a lot of alums and employers, and that is, when this thing lifts, and it will, the first question people will ask is, what did you do during this pause, this downtime? And having an answer to that is going to be a good idea. So, yep, thank you. A bit of a curveball here, but what's the worst job you've ever had? Could be a summer job back in college, could be anything. The worst job you've ever had. And in hindsight, what did you learn from that job that helped you?
Gary, this is a great question. My worst job I ever had, believe it or not, I was a janitor. My high school and the school system that in my hometown had this summer program for students, for college students, where you would work full time and cleaning the schools of Lockport, New York. And so I did that, and it was as disgusting and awful as you think, but you did make good money, and it was a really nice solid schedule every single week. So it was a nice way to kind of spend your summers. But it did teach me a lot. It taught me just to be patient, and it taught me, oh, somebody lives right near Lockport. Oh, that's awesome. So yeah, it taught me just to be patient, and it just taught me, like, oddly enough, like different life skills, like around maintaining households and that sort of thing. So I was able to still bring out different pieces of that are applicable to today, even though it was like grungy and gross most of the time. But I don't regret it at all.
Nice.
I'll be honest, I don't feel like I've had a very terrible job experience. I would say I've had difficult job experiences. I would say more so when I was working as a case manager at the YMCA in Brooklyn. It was more so dealing with, obviously, sometimes teens can be teens, and it's very hard to get through to them. Even though the age gap was not significantly large, but it's just they look at you as an adult, and it kind of becomes just, I'm not doing anything that you need me to, or I just don't want to do anything because you asked me to. So I feel like getting through and getting on a level where I can relate to a teenager and then still be able to, still be the, I guess, the authoritative person within the relationship between us. I think that was a little difficult. But aside from that, I would say from that job being difficult, I did take, little things of learning how to deal with certain people when they would act a certain way, or learning how to listen more and understand where a person is coming from. Because, again, teenagers, they're human beings just like everyone else, and they have feelings and emotions, and they have lives and things going on as well. So it taught me to listen more and learn how to react off of that, as opposed to just kind of going in with my own agenda and trying to like press that on a teenager. So I feel like I take that and I use that within my daily job today.
Nice.
I agree with that. I haven't really had an experience that was terrible. I did have a few internships that were unpaid. So that was definitely a change, not being able to be paid for your work. But like I said, that taught me so much about my career, and it taught me to just swallow my pride, get it done, learn. But that was definitely the hardest part, was just putting in the hours and you didn't get paid. But those unpaid internships were the best thing that's ever happened in my career. And, I can't be mad for the time spent on that. So.
Awesome. I'm wondering if you can give our students a sense of the top skills that are needed in your job if you want to excel. And the second part of that question is, once we come out from underneath the pandemic, which again we will, are there skills that will be different that you'll need to be able to excel in your field going forward as a result of this kind of different way of operating?
Yeah, I can jump in. I think the biggest skill for my type of work is being a good writer. I think you need to have top-notch writing skills. I think what else is important is, I think this is really applicable to kind of this like pandemic world and post-pandemic world as well, is adaptability and your ability to be flexible. A lot of what you're working with in marketing and communications and PR is fast moving and has to be nimble. It has to be able to change. You can't just think of one solution and assume that's going to be how it is. So I think, you have to think creatively. You have to think through a lot of different solutions and kind of think through what might happen and prepare for that, and be okay doing that. And I think that has always been applicable to the roles that I have. And I can see that continuing on even more so as we kind of work through today's world and what is going to look like afterward.
Great.
I can definitely agree with what Mary said and piggyback off of that. I would say, honestly, the greatest skill to have within the field that I'm in right now, whether it be on the tech side or the production side, is to just be flexible. And listening, honestly, listening is just one of the greatest things that you can do in this industry. It will kind of guide you through a lot of pitfalls that may come about if you just listen and do your best to pay attention. Because that open line of communication between you and your coworkers, or you and your superiors, or even people below you, will kind of make things a little easier for you in the long run. So I would say, honestly, that's some of the greater skills, is listening. But I will say also just effort. I know effort isn't a skill, but putting in the effort to actually learn something that you may not be in the know about, or just showing that you're interested in something, I feel like that will take you a long way within the industry that I'm in. A lot of people notice things, whether you don't know it or not, or whether you feel like no one's watching. There's always somebody there. There's always someone paying attention to you and how you respond under certain situations. So definitely take your time to listen, assess situations, and just be as flexible as you possibly can. Things will change, like Mary mentioned before, and it's just one of those things where you kind of have to just go with the flow. You kind of have to do your best in the moment. If you don't, let's say execute what you wanted to, you just learn from that and you keep moving from that, because at the end of the day, none of us are perfect. We're always working to become better. So I will say again, definitely listen, keep that open line of communication, and just put the effort in. And that, for the most part, from what I've seen just within my short time here, it does help and it does propel you forward within your career.
And I definitely agree with what Mary and Evans both said. More specifically, your written and verbal skills are most important. If you can't write a good email, then you're not going to get anywhere. That's usually the first point of contact that you have with anyone, following usually a phone call or a video chat. But I think really having a well-structured, well-written, personalized email to that person and the subject is critical. both for your career and anything personal in your life as well. But I think as well, in college, being communications, I never really got into Excel. And that's one tool that I've learned I use every single day. So I would suggest, if you are looking to go the marketing route, to definitely familiarize yourself with Excel, and just a lot of different programs on the computer, because that's our world today. So just making yourself comfortable with the programs that are available today. Sorry,
Yes.
I lost my train of thought.
No, it's a great point, Lena, in trying to pair up what your core position is with other skill sets. You know, if you work at a museum, you have to build up skills in friend raising or fundraising, and you don't really think about the business side of that. You just like museums. So a lot of times you can pair things together. So that was a great example.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If I can add one thing, exactly what Lena said. Also, kind of being creative. Again, before I got this job, and when I graduated, I had no way of getting this job. I didn't have an internship. I did all my internships after college, and that's something I wish I would have taken advantage of beforehand. But I will say, I'm assuming Lanigan is still a thing, and I'm assuming that you still can rent out equipment. That's how I got used to using cameras and other equipment that are used within the field that I'm in now. So definitely, if it's at your fingertips, if you guys can get to campus, definitely use those tools. But if you can't at all, if you have an iPhone or a cell phone, just use those things. Like take shots, look at your composition. It doesn't take much to kind of just get the ball rolling. So that's what I wanted to add.
Yeah, great. So I am a student at SUNY Oswego, and I'm looking for an internship, or maybe I'm graduating soon. I'm looking for a full-time job. What do you think would set me apart? Whether it's the look and feel and vibe of the resume I put forward, or how I come across in an interview, or the cover letter, the emails. What's going to make me stand out from everybody else who wants the same thing I do in your fields?
Yeah, I think, Gary, it's a mix of a lot of that stuff. When it comes to resumes, it's an unfortunate world sometimes with companies, because some just kind of filter them through a system that just look for keywords, and an actual human eye might not ever look at your resume. So one thing to think about is that, like, one resume might not be a one size fits all for all jobs, and that if you're applying for a specific job, maybe look at that job description and kind of pull out the different pieces of that job description and apply that to your resume. Because that, if they are using some sort of system where human eye is not on it, then that will help get attention to your resume if it's meeting the matches for that criteria. I think making connections and utilizing some of the services that we've talked about, and especially talking to alums, if you can get your resume to a specific person at that company in addition to applying, that is going to put your name forward and make sure that human eyes are on it. And I think the more that you can do just to lend yourself to kind of what that job description is looking for. To Lena's point, if they want somebody who is savvy in Excel, make sure you are, and make sure that's on your resume. Make sure those pieces are there and they're showcased, and that people know that you're able to do kind of all the different things that are listing. And then for your cover letter, I would say, keep it long enough to kind of highlight your key points you want to get across, but not too long where you're just writing this essay that no one's going to fully read. People are going to skim these things, so kind of get your full points out in a skimmable manner. And I like to tell like a few key successes from my career and key success moments, that big impact moments, and then I can have my resume do the rest. So the cover letter doesn't need to mimic your resume. It can really kind of go into some of the pieces of your resume that you really want to highlight and showcase and make sure that comes across while you're applying.
I couldn't have said it any better than the way Mary just said it. Just to add on, I do believe that it is a mashup of everything that Gary said earlier. I would also say just more so on the back end, like after the interview, after the Zoom interview, have either an email or a physical letter ready to send, a thank you letter. I feel like that I've been told, and I've been on interviews, that that's the reason why I got a second interview or third interview, was based on the thank you letter and how nobody does that anymore. And it's kind of just like a personal note, because again, the same way that you're taking time to even apply to the job, that person is taking their time out of their day to interview you. Yes, they need to fulfill a position, but at the end of the day, they didn't have to choose you. So after that initial interview, I would definitely say having a thank you email ready or an actual physical letter ready to send out just to say thank you for your time. I believe that although it's kind of antiquated, I feel like it still kind of works in this day and age.
Right, definitely what Mary and Evan said, that's equally as important. Going off of what Mary said, I think reaching out to an alumni or someone that works for the company versus just applying how every other candidate is applying, and just sending an email being like, hey, I love the company, I saw this position was available, is there anyone that I can give my resume to? Just different ways to apply versus how other applicants are applying. And going off what Evan said as well, like following up is the most important thing after an interview. I think it really solidifies the personalization aspect, and also that's their first impression of you. So I think that's just proper. Thank you for their time, and really express how you want the job. I think those are both two equally important things to helping yourself stand out.
Yeah, and I just to jump off of that point, even if there's a company that you really want to work for and it doesn't have a position open, always feel free to reach out to them and just send them your resume and let them know that you're interested. I actually had a friend who was relocating recently, and she really wanted to work for this one firm, and they didn't have any openings. So I said, just send your resume and see what happens. She ended up getting a job there. And so you never know where that can lead. So to Lena's point, definitely don't be shy about reaching out. And I think LinkedIn is a really great tool for that too. You can always find a lot of information through that. So definitely utilize that and don't underestimate its power, for sure.
Right. My position that I have today, I actually got by just reaching out. There wasn't a position open, and they actually made the position for me. So I think it's really important. Just find a company that you really love, and if it's meant to be, it'll be, the right opportunity will come along. I just think I can't express that enough. Every opportunity that I've had, I just put myself out there, and you just say, hey, like I'm looking to get experience. And especially because you are a student, you have to take advantage of that, because employers, they do care, and they are there to help and, help progress your career. So just put yourself out there, be a go-getter, and it'll come to you.
That's a great theme. Just not waiting for something to pop up in a search engine somewhere that looks good. You just kind of create your own magic as you go through this process. So awesome. What would you tell your 21-year-old self if you could go back and whisper in your ear?
Stay in college.
Fair enough.
Don't leave.
Yep.
Aside from that, I definitely agree with that.
Aside from that.
I agree with that.
No, aside from that, I think I would tell myself just to relax a little bit and take some deep breaths and not be so worried all the time. I was just so high strung on kind of checking off all of these boxes that you think you're supposed to check off after graduation and getting your first job right away or getting that promotion, and life just doesn't always afford itself to that. And so I think the advice I'd give myself is that it's going to work out and it's going to be okay. And your path forward is probably not going to look like the path forward that you think of right now, and that's okay. And you are probably going to find yourself very happy in 10 years. I think that is like my major takeaway. And I probably would have been a lot less stressed out in college.
I probably would have told myself something along those lines. I probably would have said to just realize that whatever journey you're going on is going to be your own. I kind of got out of college, and because I didn't get a job for like the first 6 months, it was kind of like, a lot of family members that didn't really understand what broadcasting mass communication was like, okay, well, you should have stayed a computer science major, or you should have did something else, you wouldn't be in this position. So it may get to the point where you may just have to really, really dig deep and lean in on yourself. Not to say that you don't have friends and you can't talk to them about what's going on. They may be in the same position as you, but just realize that the journey that you're on is specifically tailored for you. So whatever that means, whatever you have to go through, just kind of stick it out. I would also tell myself to kind of get a minor in business administration, or get a minor in computer science. Yeah, that's probably what I would have told myself.
Yeah, I agree with both. Minor, I'm very glad that I added a business minor onto mine, because I was PR, and then having that extra push to say, oh, well, I also have a business background. So definitely look at minors that would be valuable in your field. And going off what Mary said, that's exactly what I was going to say. Just, it's okay to not have a plan. Kind of just follow your heart and really go for what's you're passionate about. And if it doesn't work out, the right thing will come along. It's okay to not have everything lined up and take the exact path that you're supposed to take. So.
Awesome. Great advice. And I'm not seeing any other questions here. I have maybe just one other question for our panelists. If you could tell our students, kind of getting inside their heads, and all of you are fairly recent grads, and remember what it's like to be a college student at SUNY Oswego. What are the one or two or three things you would like to tell them to help them professionally, that might be great advice or suggestions to help them grow professionally and move forward? Could be, as everyone said, just relax, enjoy your friends. It'll never have this again. It could be that too. But what would you say to our students?
I would say utilize the resources that you have available on campus. You'll never in a time in your life have access to so many resources, so many brilliant minds, and so many opportunities all for free. Oswego is swarming with people who want to help you and resources that can do that. So definitely take advantage of them while you're there, because you don't always get them. There are certain things as alums you do get, but you don't get that same just proximity to it. And I will forever cherish all of the involvement I had in different parts of campus. I'm still very close to a lot of people because of that, and a lot of that has structured who I am today. And so yeah, definitely take advantage of anything and everything while you're there. The sky is the limit at Oswego, and I think you can really learn a lot about yourself and grow a lot of different skills, and you might even find different passions that you never knew were things there. So definitely just explore your options while you're there. And then, as Gary said, relax and have fun, because you will never have this time again in your life.
I would definitely agree with everything that Mary said. Using the resources, definitely keeping in touch with those teachers that may have pushed you a little bit, or those teachers that, always would check in on you, whether you were, in their classes or not. Keep in touch with those people, because you never know who those people may know Again, I got my job here through a friend that got their job through one of his professors at Oswego. And, you know, I got here and I realized how many other people from Oswego work here. And we had the same dean. We had Fritz Messier as our dean. We had some of the same teachers, ironically. So it's like, okay, like keeping in touch with people is just, I would say, one of the most valuable things that you can do. And also just, again, like Mary said, using all the resources you can and enjoying your time there. Can't stress that enough. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I agree with both again. You guys are leading a good path for me here. Definitely, you know, be a go-getter, as I said. It's not going to come to you. You have to go get it. Just, you know, put yourself out there, ask for available opportunities. There's a lot out there, and especially since Oswego is a smaller school, there's so many more opportunities to dip your fingers in everything, dip your feet. But just take advantage of it. And like Mary said, you're a student and it's part of your tuition, all of the services that are available to you. You know, go to career services, get your resume updated, get your cover letter ready, your LinkedIn, see what internships are available, both internally and externally from the school. Just, you know, now is the time to do it and get a head start, because there's so many students that wait until after college. And so if you get it done while you're there, you'll be ahead of everyone, and you'll be in a much better place to get a job.
Great advice from 3 very accomplished alums. Evans, Mary, and Lena, we're so grateful for your time today. Really appreciate everything you gave our students. It's rock solid advice, and it's optimistic as well, that you can use Oswego as not just a place you went to college, but as a tool to move you forward personally and professionally. And you 3 are great examples of that. So thank you so much.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Thank you.
All right. Well, this concludes this panel. Again, thank you so much, and I hope everybody else has a great day. So take care, everybody.
All right. Take care, everyone.
Everyone.
Guys, thank you.
Bye-bye.